cherish all the time you spend, you tuned in to. It's time again to cherish all the time you spend, you tuned in to. It's the number one podcast. The topics of discussion when we broadcast. So all them artificial man jokes, we do it natural from the concrete to a public standpoint. Real, wherever you from, life is coexistence, but to know the real, you just gotta listen. Wherever you from, life is coexistence, but to know the real, you just gotta listen.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the 52 Scott Podcast. I'm your host, K Money, and in the building with me, my co-host, Freddie G, Slash, and Comedian 96. Collectively, we are the Mind of Men. And you can find us on Twitter at 52 Scott Podcast, Instagram and Facebook, the 52 Scott Podcast. And if you're on YouTube, please don't forget to like and or subscribe. Welcome to another True Tuesday, fellas. Today I thought we'd talk about AJ Armstrong. I know you guys have heard of AJ, huh?
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and for those that have not, this young man was charged with murdering his parents back in 2016, and he actually had two mistrials, and they finally just finished up the third trial last week.
Yeah, two mistrials.
Yeah, two mistrials, man. This young man was 16 years old, and now he has his family of his own. You know, he's married his high school sweetheart, and has a child of his own. And they brought him on a third trial, and unfortunately for his sake, he was found guilty on this last trial. His father was a known, prominent NFL player. You know, he played for the 49ers, Dolphins, and St. Louis Rams.
What was his name?
That's a good question. Antonio Armstrong, if I'm not mistaken. I think Antonio. I might be wrong with that.
Antonio Armstrong?
Yeah. He also went to Texas A&M. Father was out of Fifth Ward, Kashmir graduate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
He's about our age. I think he came out of Kashmir in '93, if I'm not mistaken.
So wow.
But he was a okay football player in his own right. But so he had a decent life. I'm saying that to say, AJ pretty much had a decent life because his father was a respected NFL player that played for several NFL teams and had a successful career. Right. So it sounds like he didn't want for anything.
Yeah, he didn't come from a bad background.
Appreciate that, Freddie G. Yeah, so
he didn't come from a bad background.
Exactly, and he had both parents in the household because again he was charged with killing both of them. And after this third trial, like I say, he was found guilty. He had a support system. You know, his grandparents supported him throughout the 7 years that this trial had gone on. But like I said, on this last trial, this jury found him guilty. And I really don't. I have mixed feelings, and I do empathize for this young man. Because just put yourself in his shoes. 16 years old, you're not grown,
right?
But you're being charged,
right, as an adult,
for some serious crime. And now his life pretty much is over with now that he's been found guilty.
I get that.
But you knew what you were doing at 16.
Now, the thing is, you come back for me after this. I've already been through this.
But murders.
We keep mistrialing me. How you going to mistrial me?
Yeah, that trauma in itself.
So late.
Well, what I don't understand, some of the evidence that was found in this third trial wasn't brought up in the first two trials.
Yeah. That's what I would,
So that's what I would question.
Yeah.
So why, where did that come from?
You know, DNA played a major factor. From what I understand, some blood evidence was found on the shirt.
Yeah.
But
one of his shirts.
Yeah, but this wasn't brought up in the first two trials. So I'm not understanding how it wasn't brought up in the first two trials.
Right. That would seem like some pertinent information
that you missed the first two trials. Now I will feel some kind of way. Why you had all this time to find this evidence, and now all of a sudden you found some shirts.
If I'm not mistaken, this was his argument on his appeal, which I'm sure he's gonna do. But he's thinking, it's some conspiracy shit going on, which it does sound like it, if you ask me.
Well, think about it. The grandparents been behind him the whole time, so they don't believe that he did that.
Well, no, they don't.
You know,
I mean, this is their blood. This is their father's parents too. So
that's their children.
Yeah,
one of them's child. The grandparent.
I'm sorry.
The grandparents are supporting AJ.
Right.
So whoever he killed was their child.
The father.
Yeah.
The
That's
father
what I'm saying.
was one of theirs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I'm sorry, Slash.
And if they don't believe it, who else do you trust in this situation is what I'm trying to get at.
I just think that, man, like, I don't think he could have gotten a fair trial, especially if it's reached the third jury, because think about it. Any one of us could have been a part of the jury selection, jury duty. We could have had to be reported to jury duty, right? And so the first two trials we knew about because it was all over the news, right?
Right.
And some of the evidence and stuff, we knew about this. So just imagine if you would have received something in the mail. Hey, K Money, you have jury duty, and just so happened it's the AJ
high profile case,
Armstrong case, right?
Yeah.
Well, you can't unread or unknow what you know about the first two trials.
Right.
So that alone, I don't think you could have gotten a fair jury.
Right.
You know, and as my understanding, at one point they wanted to move the
case
outside of Harris County.
Yeah.
I think that should have been done.
He would have got a fair trial.
I'm not saying he would have gotten a fair trial because you just don't know what you're going to get when you're dealing with jurors.
Yeah.
That's always been an issue with me.
Yeah.
When you don't know much about these jurors, if they're racist or whatever, you can't really just say, okay, I'm going to get a fair trial.
Man,
but
not to cut you off, but this is what I get from all of these different, trial dates and all of this, or every time I go to court, are you trying to convict me? If you have to do this many times, you don't have nothing on me. Why we keep going through this?
That's what I don't understand.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, and I get what you're saying. What's jacked up is that. So let's remove the fact that you are guilty. Let's remove the fact that you're not guilty.
Okay.
The only thing that the courts care about is the law. Meaning that you're charged with first-degree murder, second-degree murder, whatever that is within those murders, the jurors get what you call jury instructions. And they're saying that, okay, according to these instructions for first-degree murder, second-degree murder, whatever, you got to find him guilty of these things under this structure, right? Mm-hmm. And if you can't find it under these instructions, there's reasonable doubt because the burden of proof is on the prosecution.
Right.
All the defense has to do.
They got to find the truth.
All the defense has to do is to create doubt. Thus, the reason for the jury, the mistrials the first two times, because they were able to create doubt, right? So now, according to the law, these people on this jury selection, they felt like, okay, based upon the evidence that we heard, whether there was some new evidence presented or not, because they wasn't there for the first two. Whether there's new evidence or not, at the end of the day, this is the evidence for our trial.
They were presented.
We were presented with this evidence, right? And so based upon what we was presented with, we think he's guilty.
Gotcha.
We think he's guilty. Now, of course, they got all kind of stuff that's unexplainable, in my opinion, for the defense. I mean, come on, man, you shooting in your house. What the hell are you shooting a gun for prior to the parents being murdered?
Right.
In the house.
Exactly.
That seemed crazy.
Yeah.
So, but who knows?
But see, you mentioning him shooting in the house, and they were said to have been shot with their own guns, correct?
Wow.
But there was no gunshot residue found on his hand. That, so again,
and they ain't find no residue.
You know what? Let me say this. I'm playing devil's advocate because I think it's honestly, man. I got mixed emotions about this.
I'm the same way.
But it's easy not to find gun residue on the hand if you got gloves on. There's no gun residue.
Yeah.
So,
was he smart enough to do that at his age?
But it still be on his arms, on his
Think about his age.
Look at
16.
Yeah.
Would you go think?
Yeah. And then not only is it going to get your
Well,
hand.
you thought you was going to go kill somebody too.
Think about the youngsters today. Think about jugging. Thinking about all of the crimes they commit. These youngsters be on it. They wearing hoodies and gloves and all that stuff in the 100-degree heat.
Well, yeah.
So these youngsters be on it, man. You know, we don't know. I mean, 16. You know.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
Who's to say he didn't Google how to get away with murder? You know what I mean? 16. You know, 16. They Google. They love Googling,
and they have access to a lot of.
So.
I just don't know if was any of that brought up in these other cases.
I don't think he did no Google. They did bring up text messages that was going between he and his mother. And
but that was just like typical arguing between mother and son. So I mean, they say he wasn't your typical 16-year-old, and how different he was, other than the fact that he killed his he has been found guilty. So
found guilty.
It's safe to say he has killed his mother and father. That is a big difference.
Yeah.
We all have kids, man, and can you even picture your kids doing any of this?
You can't even imagine it.
No,
let alone picture. I can't even imagine something.
And that's just like his parents. I'm sure they would have never expected it, so it would have been easy to do as far as his timing.
Then too, from my understanding, the school he was in, I think in Kincaid, and then his parents had threatened to take him out and bring him back to another school to get him away from that school.
Yeah.
So if your parents are saying, "I'm gonna take you out to school," now I've never been to Kincaid, but from my understanding, it's predominantly white.
Right. Yeah.
And then they lived in Bel Air, but I think they were gonna send him to Lamar, maybe.
Yeah.
Or Bel Air or something. So the thing is think about kids who don't want to leave their neighborhood, or we're moving, or don't take me all my friends or whatever, So you never know how this stuff goes, man.
And you know how kids are talking back nowadays. A 16-year-old, especially to his mom, I can imagine. He was strong arming her and using words that a 16-year-old probably shouldn't be using, especially with his mom. Dad get involved and put the foot down and do what fathers normally would do. And what led up to the gunshot in the house? Did you happen to?
From my understanding, he had a friend over, and this is the I don't want to say lie, but from my understanding, the story goes that he had a friend over, and they just wanted to see how it sound, how the gun sound, and from my understanding, he shot into a comforter or a pillow or something, and after the friend had left or something. I'm kind of not clear on all of that, but it was all started with a friend being over.
That's crazy.
They wanted to see how the gun sound, but allegedly, I think the same gun that he shot in the house was the same gun that was the murder weapon.
Yeah.
And the murder weapon, I think, was on his father's side of the bed. And so, which tells me that, okay, you had to go in this lockbox because it was in the lockbox.
He knew the combination.
And you got this gun
out of there
a week or two or whatever before the actual murder. And, but then when it comes in questioning, from my understanding, that he didn't know nothing how to get in the lockbox and all this stuff. So man, it's kind of sketchy. But ooh, man.
But who else do you have to put in place of him?
In place of the
AJ.
What do you mean by
the son? If he didn't murder him, who did?
Yeah.
They tried to point the finger at his older brother, who is schizophrenic.
Right. So now that means you don't have enough
some mental issue.
evidence to pin this on me.
But here's the thing: what they're saying, though, they're saying that he was inside the house with his little sister, and his sister was 12 years old at the time, and the alarm was armed, and the alarm was never de-armed. So they're saying that how can somebody come into this house, kill your parents,
Right.
and the alarm was never disarmed,
Yeah.
and the only people that were in the house was your mother, father, you, and your sister.
Yeah.
Then you gotta ask.
They wouldn't have known where the gun was.
Yeah, you also just said he did shot a gun in a pillow, but you didn't have no residue. So
Nobody that came in that house that didn't live there would not know where the gun is at.
No. When you say no residue, apparently the gunshot in the house prior to the murder.
This is a separate occasion.
That's a separate occasion.
Oh,
two different
days later.
Different days.
Okay,
weeks,
2 different
whatever.
weeks. Okay.
2 different occasions. Yeah, I was. I see. He was being chastised. He was also fell in school, so he was a troubled teen. So yeah, they probably just got a little too strict from what he was used to, and he took matters in his own hands and didn't realize, I think, that it would catch up with him like it did.
Yeah.
Then the fact you said he played in the NFL, his dad, so he probably thought he was gonna get a insurance policy or the money he got in his account or whatever. He probably was thinking that. Oh, that's
At 16.
At 16, thought he was gonna be balling out of control. Probably been watching too much IG.
Freddie G, you say he had a brother.
He had an older brother, and I think his older brother had mental issues, if I'm not mistaken. But I think his older brother may have had schizophrenia or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, shit. Even if he was thinking that way, I think the money would have gone to his mom and dad, and I can't think of the correct terminology. Because he's under 18.
The older brother, right?
They probably would have put him in a trust estate until he turned 18 or something. But
so he wouldn't have had access to it right away. So that
But
motive,
they probably would have paid for his house, paid for 2 years. He'd be good. Feel me? They'd pay. But then after that, he'd take over. But they would have put somebody over his estate till he, got of age.
Well, who would that be? His brother?
No, for me, they probably got him. His
I could
lawyers,
say moms, the grandparents.
I don't think it had anything to do with money.
But the grandparents.
Because I'm gonna tell you why. Because the evidence that came out and the arguments that were being made, I don't recall it ever being motivated by money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you don't want to because
everything had something to do with. No, I'm talking about the prosecution.
Okay.
Them making their case. I don't recall them ever making their case based upon money.
Right.
The stuff that they were presenting had a lot to do with just him just being a
spoiled brat.
Yeah. Badass kid.
Yeah.
Well, that turned into capital. They probably gave him the death sentence. Probably couldn't do it, wouldn't
they? Gave
they?
him a life sentence with the possibility of parole.
With the possibility,
40 years.
40 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah, his life is.
That's definitely damn near like. Cause I think, man, he's in his
21. He was 16 at the time, and he was convicted last week. Which this is 2023.
So he'll do about 30 years of that.
That's 23.
So he's 23 years old. They're saying that he got a
40.
life sentence and a mandatory 40 years.
Yeah.
Now check this, to be
60,
eligible.
63 years
to
old.
be eligible for parole. Now check this out. We know how the parole board works. Your first time up, you
don't get that.
Out. Your first time. Probably not your second time. So that he'll probably his eligibility he'll be 63. He probably won't get out until he's 65.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a life. That is a life sentence.
That's a life
That
sentence.
is a life sentence,
Yeah.
man.
Because then when you get out, where you gonna work? Where you gonna go?
You can't do nothing after that.
65.
You're gonna die in that place, man.
It's a wrap, man.
Yeah, he got a young, son of his own.
Yeah.
Now, and not to mention, I mean, you may not die in there, but by the time you do get out, like you say, what are you gonna do after that?
Yeah, you're 60-something years old, man.
What can you do? You can't do nothing for yourself.
And you got your grandparents. They're gonna be
deceased by the time you get
Your
out.
parents are dead.
You have
Hope your wife,
your wife,
if she
man,
hasn't
come on, man.
remarried,
She's 65 years old, man.
Yeah.
And your kid gonna be
Grown.
40,
Forgotten about
40
you.
years
40
old.
something.
You know,
I got a dad. He in
and
prison.
gonna have kids or whatever. You know, so it's just
It's a wrap.
If you don't maintain, and this will be up to your kid. If you don't maintain a relationship with your kid while you're in there, and your kid doesn't see you, this is my dad, and have a good relationship,
Often.
because at the end of the day, that's the only one you're going to be able to come home to for the most part.
Yeah.
To actually take you in
As a family member.
because
some real
everybody else is
shit.
dead. Your
Yeah.
kid got to be the one like damn.
Yeah.
Because your wife probably be dead in 60s.
In 60s, yeah.
They're gonna be in their 60s.
Yeah.
And so if your kid is still living, you gotta hope that, you know what, man, I don't have nowhere to go. Everybody's deceased. I'm in my 60s.
Yeah.
You know, take me in.
Let me ask you guys this before we get up out of here, man. What do you think his chances are on appealing?
I think he got action.
Think he got a good chance?
Yeah, I think he got action on this appeal.
I think so too. I think it's too much. It doesn't add up.
Not so much as getting out, but a reduction in time.
In time.
Probably so. Yeah.
Because they're not gonna let him out.
They gonna give what they love to give us, 18 years. Watch. You gonna everybody they love to give us 18 years for some reason. I don't know
And here's
why.
something else to think. I'm sorry. Here's something else to think about too. Man, he killed 2 people.
2 people.
Not one.
Not
2.
one. That's why I say that you don't get.
But
That's
they
a
don't
life
have
sentence.
enough evidence, so I don't think they can just
No,
get
apparently
They got enough
did.
evidence.
They convicted him.
Well, he got away twice. Think about it.
No,
And
he
then
didn't get away.
He never
got away.
But
They
he
were
got mistrial, then conviction.
They got enough evidence. That's why they was able to convict him.
him.
It was
now.
just the first 2 jurors.
They
didn't have
they
all-
couldn't
They didn't
make that
understand.
decision.
Yeah, they didn't understand the reasonable doubt.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So something's wrong. If it happened wrong, if it was wrong the first 2 times, and then you trying to get it right now because you adding stuff, it looks.
Yeah, I
It
get
It does.
suspect.
Yeah.
I see what you're
That's
saying.
true.
It looks
does
suspect.
look like that, but you know.
Like I say, I empathize for this young man because his life totally is over with at this point in time. The money that it's costing just to keep these trials going is one thing, and I don't know where he's getting finances from. He was 16 when he was originally charged, and now he's 23. Yeah. He hasn't, it could be coming from the trust fund now.
A lot of times, man, and I know this personally. A lot of times, because they got high profile cases like this, these attorneys will do things pro bono
Get that attention.
to
was
get
about to say.
that attention.
Yeah.
That makes
So
sense.
these
To
attorneys
make
will
it a-
do
They'll
things.
jump
big
on
case.
it.
That
You know how many
makes-
attorneys trying to get on? If he can get him off,
Yeah, make the most
everybody
out of that.
Calling his office
Yeah.
then.
Well, AJ, man, good luck to you, bruh, on your appeal. Again, I do empathize. I have mixed feelings because I feel like the young man is guilty. But at the same time, I feel like, there's some foul shit going on. But good luck to you, bro, and keep your head up and don't drop the soap. This concludes another True Tuesday episode, and be sure you tune in tomorrow for Women Wednesday with Freddie G. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at 52 Scott Podcast, on Instagram and Facebook, The 52 Scott Podcast. And for all you YouTubers, don't forget to like and subscribe. And to all my 52 Scott faithfuls, it may be new to you, but if you heard it here, then you know it's true.